Hi, everyone. Welcome to our One World Energy Encounter with the Zohar. This week's portion is Shemot, which literally means names. And it's kind of a curious thing because the world refers to it as Exodus, because it is the story of Exodus. But we refer to it as usually the first word in the book. That's the name that Kabbalistically we call it. In this particular example, it's the second word, but they're kind of tied together. And just so we have some context, we're engaging with the life of Moses and the energy of Moses, and we're going to talk about that. But before we do, let's invite in the lineage, the Kabbalistic lineage of the Rav and Karen and Michael, Rabbi Shlag, Rabbi Anran, the Uriah Kodesh, the Ramchal, Rabbi Tafon, Rav Abba Mazulai, Rav Menachem Mendel of Vitebsk, Rav Kolonimus Shapir Piasetzna, the Baal Shem Tov, and Rav Baal Shem Tov and all the students, one soul with Yosef at Tzaddik and Shechem. Also today, which is the 24th day of Tevet, Capricorn, is also the anniversary of elevation for Rav Shmuel Bernstein of Sacha Shatov, who is an author of the Shem Mishmuel. And you hear Michael refer to the Shem Mishmuel often. He does draw on his writings for insights. It's also the anniversary of elevation of a guy by the name of Rav Shneur Zalman of Ladi, also known as the Baal HaTanya, because he wrote a book called the Tanya. He started the Chabad Lubavitch movement. He was a student of the Maggid of Mezrich, who is a student, who's the primary student of the Baal Shem Tov. So he's just too removed from the Baal Shem Tov and started one of the most, if not the most, highest visibility Hasidic movements known to the world. Definitely a very elevated soul. So, okay, as we connect to these verses, this isn't just some study of history. This is us connecting to the Zohar, and through the Zohar connecting to the flawless universe where all fulfillment lies, it lies in potential, and we are connecting to it to manifest all that perfection. And so everywhere in the world where we see imperfection, we know that we have the power to channel that. And so let's have a consciousness of connecting to the level of Binah, the reservoir of fulfillment, and channeling the energy of healing for everyone who needs healing, those souls that are transitioning. We want to send them energy of elevation. We want to channel the energy of ending conflict in the world. So we have a quick ending to the war that's going on in Israel. We would like to also, of course, see all the hostages return safely and everyone who's in harm's way, including the soldiers protecting the innocents and trying to remove negativity from the world, protection for them. And also, we want to connect to the energy of Ahavat Chinam, unconditional love, and treating everyone with human decency. If we had those two things, we wouldn't have the conflicts that we have in the world right now. So we're connecting to the story of Exodus. It's not history. I mean, it is history, I suppose, at some level, but not at our level. At our level, it's redemption. And we all need redemption. Redemption from what? Well, here we are, kind of like, escorting our souls through physicality. And we're so engrossed with the physical world that we think it's real, but it's only 1%. 1% doesn't amount to much. The real world is the other 99%. And our soul knows it, and our soul's connected to it. And through our souls, we're connected to it also. But because this world is so overwhelming, it overwhelms our ability to connect to our soul without doing work. And so here we are doing work to connect to our souls so we can manifest that perfected versions of ourselves in this world. That's why we came here. That is the journey of our soul. So that's what we're trying to be redeemed from. This illusion of physicality. Egypt, which is where Jacob and all of his sons, all the children of Jacob, the children of Israel in last week's portion ended up, Egypt represents desire to receive for the self, which is our nature, which is physicality, which is our ego. That's what Egypt represents. So emancipation from Egypt represents our emancipation from the limitations of physicality. And that's the power of what this portion offers us. And the power of the energy that we're connecting to is this ability to connect in a much deeper way to the world beyond physicality. So let's dive in. Anyone want to volunteer to read English for us today? Thank you, Rocky. Okay, we are verse 207 in Shemot, volume 8. All right, I'm going to start with the Aramaic. V'yifen kovacho, chama bi'ilein nun atvan, dim yachadim le Yisrael b'chol yoma, shma Yisrael pa'amayim, di'it behon ko trezimne, v'lav chama be v'yifen kovacho, v'gomer. Kovacho amar Rabbi Abba, ko chama, ihavo be ovadin dechashran, v'cho I zamin lenafka mine bara me'al ya. Miyad b'yar ki ein ish chama baruch kutsha delazamin lenafka mine bara me'al ya. Okay, before we read the actual English, Rocky, do you have the relevance in there?
Yes.
Let's read the relevance. Let's start there.
Darkness becomes a powerful positive force the moment it is transformed into light, for it creates unparalleled brilliance. Light from darkness is far more luminous than light from light.
And so we've actually heard this before. It's like you can turn a light on when the sun's out, it doesn't have much of an impact. Mm-hmm. When you turn the light on in a darkened room, it makes all the difference in the world. And so that's a metaphor for when we're experiencing darkness in this world. When we only see physicality, we're seeing darkness. Now, yes, there's plenty of positive things that happen, but the challenges that we experience within our physical world look dark, but the light is there. And so we came here to reveal the light in the darkness. That's what we came here to do. Okay, keep going.
Our most negative and wicked traits can be harnessed to change this world absolutely, bringing us endless joy the moment we own up to their existence and transform them into positive traits.
So I listened to someone I listen to frequently on like YouTube. Can't think of her name right now. But one of the points that she was making was that we have this tendency to experience like negativity and just want to numb it or get away from it. I mean, that's natural. That is human. Whether it's stress or whether it's conflict or whether it's emotional pain, we want to numb it. We want to get past it. We don't want to experience it. And, pharmaceutical companies are more than happy to prescribe something for that. But her point is we need to be with that pain. We need to experience, even if we have a friend to help us be with that pain, we need to be with that pain because that pain is helping us grow. And the only way to process it is to be there. And I'm as guilty as anyone on that. I'm just not wanting to experience the pain. But there's growth and there's gifts on the other side, big time. One of the gifts that you get is that you don't have to experience it again. If you avoid the pain, it's not going away. If you experience it, if you think about it, if you process it, it doesn't go away. It just doesn't get in the way of our joy. Okay, keep going.
Instead of feeling shame, guilt, dishonor, and disgrace over our own evil impulses, instead of denying their existence, we should immediately acknowledge them, as painful as they may be, and ask the light to transform our evil qualities into their opposite state.
It reminds me of the traits of a narcissist.
Mm.
I mean, we're to a certain degree, maybe we all have some narcissistic traits. Some people have an overabundance of them. But the thing about a narcissist is they have no ability to self-reflect. They also have no ability to take responsibility. And so they're not taking responsibility, and they have no ability to acknowledge that because they can't reflect. And so they're constantly, everyone else is the problem.
Yep.
So what this is pointing at is, let's not feel bad about it. Let's just acknowledge it. That's the point. Let's just acknowledge that negativity. We all have something, and it's hard to acknowledge it. It's hard to look in the mirror. But rest assured, the universe is helping us, because the challenges we experience are a direct consequence of the negativity we have.
That's heavy. That's kind of heavy, David.
It is. This actually is one of the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov. If you see something negative in someone else, instead of judging them, which it's easy to do that, that's the easy way. Instead of judging them for the negativity you see in them, just explore the possibility that there's an aspect of that negativity in yourself that you can't see, which is why it's so easy to see in someone else. Yes, Maria.
Hey, Rocky, I just want to say that's heavy. I mean, when I read that relevance, I was like, this is what Kabbalah is all about. It's helping us open our eyes. And it's in this relevance right there that's summarizing, to me, everything. So sometimes we go through our process of studying, and 1 week we're going through this book and the other book, and we go, we apply those experiences and those teaching, but then this paragraph, and there's another relevance on this book that I read early in the week, that it was like another bomb explosion for me, just like another reminder of that this process and these studies in Kabbalah is just like, it just validates everything of what this community is all about.
Yes.
By the way, feel free to post that to the WhatsApp group. Okay. That other one.
Yeah, and that's and you know what this says. What you just said was, which was what hit home for me, is there's a saying that every time you point a finger at one person, there's three pointing back at you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's continue with this. Go ahead, Rock.
This passage uproots our negative traits, allowing them to give birth to their opposite. From evil emerges divine goodness. From selfishness is born selflessness. Greed gives way to generosity. Spitefulness engenders kindness and compassion. Our greatest weaknesses now become our greatest strengths. And the light that shimmers uplifts all humanity. That is so sexy.
So powerful. It's so powerful. But think about it, when we can't engage with our negativity, we cut ourselves off from the gifts that lie beyond that. So if we can't acknowledge, our negative traits, we can't remove the shade that stands in the way, the blinds that are in the way. We can't remove them. We can only hope to remove them if we can acknowledge them. And that's painful.
The first step in the 12-step program is the acknowledgement that there is an issue, because and the restoration to sanity, which means that at some point there was sanity, and you didn't acknowledge that there was an issue, so you became even more insane inside of that.
Right. Absolutely. All right, let's keep going. We'll finish this. There's only a couple more lines. Go ahead.
The most corrupt and sinful aspects of our society now transform, giving birth to divinity, purity, and blessings. The negative traits within us and the negative beings in our world that cannot be altered into positivity and goodness are now banished forever, freeing us from their destructive influences.
Okay, so there's such a tremendous opportunity here in these sections to remove that negativity and to give us the ability to see what that negativity is so that we can remove it. And furthermore, to reveal the gifts that we were meant to reveal to the world. Now, you might think, hey, listen, I'm just one of, this, I don't know, 7.5 billion people in the world. So what good is my revealing my gifts? I'm just one out of 7.5 billion. It doesn't work that way. You can't, it's not quantitative, it's qualitative. It's not even qualitative, it's spiritual. It's like the mosaic that represents the flawless universe. We're all putting pieces of the puzzle into that puzzle. We all have a role. And it's not for us to judge how big that role is or not. We don't know. It doesn't matter. We still have to do our work. It's like one grain of sand represents the tipping point. Or as Rabbi Schlag has said, I think it's a coriander seed. I don't know which seed it is. On the scale, it just takes one seed to tip the scales. Okay. We read the Aramaic 207. Rocky, can you read 207?
And he looked this way, Hebrew kaf hey, and that kaf, since he saw in these 50 letters that Yisrael proclaimed twice every day the prayer, Shema Yisrael, hear, O Yisrael, that contains kaf hey, which equals 25, and kaf hey letters twice. But he did not see that the Egyptian would be saying.
Okay, so let's a little bit of context. Moses comes of age in this portion. He is one of the most, if not the most elevated soul to ever walk the earth. And without going into the details of the story, which play out this week, Pharaoh's daughter rescues him from the Nile, brings him into the palace, and he is an Israelite growing up in the palace. I think they all kind of know he's an Israelite growing up in the palace, but they don't want to mess with the queen, with the princess. And he's growing up in the palace, having a grand old time. And then he realizes he's an Israelite. So he goes to look for his people, and he goes walking around, and he sees his people, and they're enslaved. And he's struggling. Now, think about the last big player in our story was Joseph. He also had many years of struggle. Thrown in a pit, despised by his brothers, sold into slavery, thrown in jail. And then all of a sudden, there's this inflection point where he rises to the second most powerful person in Egypt in the world. And Egypt itself rises to be the foremost nation in the world. But Joseph's gone. And so the Israelites become enslaved. What are they enslaved to? Desire to receive for the self. This is the Passover story. And so there's a Redeemer coming. Someone's going to lead them out. And we know, we've seen the movie before. We know it's Moses. But we're now tracking Moses' ascension to that position. And so he's walking around, he checks out his brethren, the other Israelites, and he sees an Egyptian whipping an Israelite. And if you look at the story literally, it's like he looked one way, then looked the other, then he killed the Egyptian who was whipping the Israelite. And at one level, that's the story. That's the literal story. But the Zohars, we're not satisfied with that. We don't need a story. We need to see the deeper reality. And so when it says he looked this way and that, he looked kaf hey. The numerical value of kaf hey, kaf is 20, k is 5, is 25. There's 25 letters in the first verse of Shema, and another 25 letters in the Baruch Shem that follows. And the Shema and the Baruch Shem represent this unification of upper world and lower world. Everything we're trying to do, manifesting the flawless universe in our world. And Moses has the power to do that? Yeah, he's super elevated. He's half man, he's half angel. So it says he looks this way and that, as if he wants to make sure the coast is clear before he smites the Egyptian. That's a little story, but that's not what he's looking at. He's looking at the soul of the Egyptian. And ko is a reference to he'll never utter those words. Really? He'll never utter those words? That's what's about? He loses his life because he doesn't choose the right words in the rest of his life? No. He's not working to connect with his soul. He's not working to connect with the upper realm. He's not adding anything to the world. He's not assisting in the world's perfection. He's just picking up and whipping somebody because it feels good to him, desire to receive for the self. Sure, it feels good to take it out on somebody else. But that's ego.
That's that evil
nature.
part of him, right? As bright as he is, the humanity part, right? The desire to receive for himself and causing the harm and killing the Egyptian.
Well, it isn't. He's not doing it because it feels good for him. It looks that way. I'm saying the Egyptian who's whipping the Israelite is doing it because it feels good to him. Yeah, okay. He's getting his frustrations out. Moses is saying, is this a soul that's actually he's trying to stop it. By the way, we'll see. I don't know if we'll see it in this Zohar, but Moses never touches him. He just looks at him. So that's what the reference is. Yes, he looked this way and that. He wasn't looking to see if anyone was going to be watching him. He was looking to see what potential is coming from this Egyptian soul, because if there was some great potential, then he was going to not do anything to stop his trying to murder the Israelite. Okay, now what does this mean for us? When do I step in? When don't I? How do I know? How do I know when I insert myself into a situation? I really don't know. But we want to always be cognizant of, am I doing this for me? Am I doing this because it's a desire to achieve for the self? Or am I doing this because it's desire to receive for the sake of sharing? Because I'm trying to generate light for the world. I can't remember who I saw in this interview. I want to say it was Rick Rubin, the movie producer. And he was talking about musicians. If you're out there to do things for your audience, okay, that's one thing. If you're out there to manifest your soul, if the music, who are you writing the music for? You're writing it for yourself. What does that mean? What do you mean? You're writing it for yourself in that you're trying to express your unique gifts. To the degree that the music you write is to appeal to the masses, it's not being you. It's not as genuine. And so there's two approaches to artists. They can look at it as a self-expression, or giving the masses what they want. And when it's self-expression from a Kabbalist, I'm not judging which one is better or not. I mean, we all listen to pop music at some level. But I'm just saying, like, from a Kabbalistic perspective, the music we want, the art we want, the work we do is an expression of us. It's what our soul yearns to express in the world. That's why we're here, to manifest our genuine self. And that's what Moses is doing at a deeper level. He's trying to, this is him discovering who he is, which he will continue to struggle with through this portion. Because when the Creator says, I need you to go into Egypt and free your people, he's like, I'm not the man for the job. Okay, keep going, Rocky.
And he looked Ko and Ko, Rabbi Abba said. The first Ko is because he looked to see whoever possessed good deeds. And the second Ko is because he desired to perceive whether a righteous son would emerge from him.
Okay, so like it's like he's concerned about the consequences of whether he injects himself and kills this Egyptian. What impact is that going to have in the world? If there's some great soul that's supposed to come from this Egyptian, then he can't do anything. You know, this is his gift, his ability to see that. It's a rare individual that can actually look at you and see your soul. And not only see your soul, but see the potential. I mean, are you seeing the future? Again, we've kind of talked about this. It only seems like it's the future to the degree that you buy into the concept of time. But if you remove time from the equation, it's not seeing the future, it's seeing the deeper now. It's looking at the seed and seeing what fruit is going to come of it. But it is in the seed. So it's a depth of perception as opposed to seeing the future. We call it the future because we're here in physicality and everything's got to be so linear. But that's part of the illusion. And so the other thing we get from this is our own ability to see a deeper now, to be more present to what's going on, to see beyond the limitations of physicality. All these curtains that stand in the way of our seeing the deeper reality. It's part of what we want to remove. Okay, continue.
Immediately he saw that there was no man. He saw by the Holy Spirit that no righteous son would not emerge from him.
Okay, so he's seeing that there isn't going to be a righteous soul emerging from this Egyptian. That's what he's looking at. And, it is an extreme example, but also like we need to be thinking about the decisions that we make. Are they aligned with our soul's purpose, which is to reveal our gifts? In Moses' case, if he took out a life that was potentially going to reveal tremendous light, that's not his soul's purpose. Not much he knows at this point. Let's continue. 208. Da'amar Rabbi Abba, kama chayavin inun be'alma, dimafke b'nei me'alma, yatir me'inun zakain dehahu bara me'alya, denafak min chavaya, chayava. Iu me'alya yatir, lemeheve tahor mitame, nahora migo chashocha, chachmata migoi tipshuta, v'da'ihu me'alya mikola.
208. Rabbi Abba said, how many wicked people are there in the world who beget good children more than the righteous?
Yeah, that's the thing. Well, the prime example that came up a few portions ago is Lavan, Rebecca's brother. Remember, Jacob gets the birthright, and Rebecca says, hey, go hang out at Uncle Lavan's because Esau wants to kill you for taking the birthright. Right. So Uncle Lavan is a very, very negative person. Lavan means white, meaning he cloaked himself with the cloak of purity, but he was very negative, very desirous of receiving from the self. His two daughters, Leah and Rachel, among the most elevated souls to ever walk the world. So that's the thing. We just don't know. It's not so clear. Go ahead.
And that good son who comes from the wicked person is even better because he is pure from impure, light from darkness, wisdom from foolishness, and this is the best of all.
So we've heard the expression, the son is the father of the father. I don't know what's exactly, but the whole idea is like it's our youth begets our more mature self. We have to go through all those experiences, all those challenges of our early days to become and shape the men and women, the people that we become. And in another way, this is the good son who comes from the wicked person. until the age of 13, we're only wired with the desire to receive for the self. That's what our teachers tell us. There is no ability to have a desire to receive for the sake of sharing. And to the degree that under 13 people seem to be giving, they're just imitating that which they see in adults. It's not genuine. This is what our teachers tell us. Yes, Peter.
The other takeaway to me is the idea of, right, where we always talk about our environment, and they encourage us to put ourselves in a positive environment. And it strikes me that the ability for someone so good to come from someone so bad shows you how high they are, because they have the ability to transform, because, Leah and Rachel were born into a very, a house with so much negativity, yet they both achieve such high levels.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point, and I think that's here. And as you say it, it's like we see people who are just good, right? So what are they doing? Well, that's not what they're doing. That's not what people who just seem to be, they're just good already. They didn't come here to do that. They came here to do something else. It's like when you are coming from your negativity, and you transform into positivity, the journey is further. The journey generates more light. If I'm doing what I'm doing, that's good. I'm not changing. I'm not transforming. Monica Berg talks about this all the time. It's this ability to transform. It's like we came here to transform. It's a constant process of transformation. We didn't come here to kind of chill out and hang out. We do that, but that's not the purpose of our soul. Our soul's work is to transform. Well, where do I need to transform? Well, that's part of the journey, is to figure that out.
But that transformation could come from both ways, right? From the negative aspect of it and the positive aspect of it.
Well,
right?
It is the process of A, recognizing our negativity, and B, transforming it. Yes, absolutely. Okay. In both ways. And so, like, if you see your negativity, it's like, thank God. I think in the introduction to Kabbalah, they express it like it's like your vacuum cleaner. When you're vacuuming up and you hear something crunchy, you come in there, it's like, I'm cleaning up. I don't see it, but I hear it. It's a good feeling. Like, we want to feel that way about our negativity. But the ego doesn't. The opponent certainly does not want us to feel that way about our negativity. The opponent wants us to say, oh my God, you really stink. That's what the opponent wants to say. But it's really the opponent that stinks, not us. We came here to actually root out that negativity. It's a positive. It's paradoxically, it's positive to identify our negativity. That's what we came here for. That's why we turned the vacuum cleaner on in the first place. Okay, let's continue to verse 209. I know it's a different article, but there's a flow here. The yar v'yar dahacha, kola baruach, kucha istakal b'chama, v'ginkach istakal be v'katal le, v'kucha brichu sivev kola, limhech lahu beira, kama da azal Yaakov l'gabe hahu bira, dichti v'yashev el ha-be'er, v'Yaakov kati v'yar b'nei be'er, v'Moshe kati v'yashev be'eretz Midyan, v'yashev al ha-be'er, begin to Moshe v'Yaakov. Apaldav div darga chadahaba istalak Moshe bahai yatir minei. Rocky?
209. He asked, what is the allusion in the mentioning of he saw twice? And he saw an Egyptian man, and when he saw that there is no man.
Okay, so it's like this again. He saw twice. What's the significance? There's not an extra letter. Why would there be an extra word? What does he say? Go ahead.
And he answers, he observed and saw everything with the Holy Spirit.
So our benefit here, what we're getting is, this is Moses using his prophetic vision. And so we are also connecting to our ability to see a deeper reality. Go ahead.
Therefore he looked at him and killed him, meaning that he killed him by looking at him.
That's how we know he didn't strike him. He just looked at him. That was enough.
Therefore it says a second time, he saw. And the Holy One, blessed be he, caused all this so that Moses should go to that well as Jacob went to that well, as it is written, and he sat down by a well. He asks, by Jacob it is written, and he looked, and behold, a well in the field. While
Okay, so just hang on one second. So let's, for some context here, what happens is he kills the Egyptian. And the reason why the creator set it up that way is because he had to get Moses out of Egypt. Why? Well, this because there's a whole other part of his journey that he has to undertake. So again, the things that we do that we look at as negative and we beat ourselves up for, you have no idea why you did that. You have no idea what the creator's plan is for you. We can't remember. We made a deal when we came here. We made a contract with the light to work on certain things. But I don't remember all the details of that contract. I have a hard time remembering the details of the contracts I signed when in this life, let alone the contract I made with my soul, that my soul made. So that's why. And what happens is the very next day after he kills the Egyptian, he's still walking among the Israelites, and now he sees two Israelites fighting. And he says, why are you fighting with each other? And one of them says, are you going to kill us like you killed the Egyptian? Now he realizes the story's out, and so he gets out of Dodge on the next train. There were no trains, but you know what I mean. He gets out of Dodge immediately and goes to a well. And what the Zohar is pointing out is Jacob went to a well also. What's the significance of the well? And just so we're clear, the significance of the well is it's this reservoir of light. That's what a well represents. The water represents light, represents mercy, represents blessings from the upper realm. And the reservoir, the well itself, is the vessel for that. And that's what we're always trying to do. Become a better vessel for the light in the world. So of course he goes to hang out at the well. Okay, keep going.
And he looked, and behold, a well in the field, while by Moses it says, and dwelt in the land of Midian, and he sat down by a well. By Jacob it did not say sat, but only he looked.
Why the difference? Why does Jacob only looked at the well, but Moses sits by the well? Why are we having that level of detail? Who cares? Well, we do, because there's a big reveal here. Go ahead.
And he answers, it is because even though Moses and Jacob were on one level, meaning the central column, in all Moses became elevated more than him, because Jacob is the aspect of Tiferet, and Moses is the aspect of Diet, which is the inner part of Tiferet. Okay, so
it's dot, which means knowledge, but it's an aspect. We don't often speak of dot. It is an aspect of Keter. It's an aspect of tenor of Keter which we can connect with, and Moses connects to that level. So the distinction is, yes, they're both central column. We also know that Moses is also Netzach, but we're going to put that aside for the time being. He represents this central column connection, because Keter is central column. Just like Jacob is Tiferet and Joseph is Yesod, both central column. That was the connection between why the connection between Jacob and Joseph was so strong, not because Jacob loved him, because they were alike. It was an intense likeness, central column. Moses also is central column, but a much more elevated aspect of it. Okay, let's just finish the English and we'll wrap up.
And the inner meaning of the well is Mahut, the spouse of Tiferet. And since Moses was the inner part of Tiferet, therefore by him it says sat, and by Jacob only he saw.
So here we are in this book of Shemot, connecting to this energy of Moses, this very, very elevated soul with elevated connections, who really transforms the world for everyone. And so this is what we're looking to do, and the connection we're making. We also want to assist the world in its global transformation, which is why it's here, why we're here, which is why we connected the Zohar this time, and which is the merit that we have is to do the work to help the world in transforming. Okay, we're out of time. Love you all. Shabbat shalom. Thank you.
Shabbat shalom. Take it
Shabbat
easy,
shalom.
guys.
Shalom,
You
everybody.
too.